Nobody tells you that you can be angry at God. They tell you to trust Him. They tell you to have faith. They tell you His plan is bigger than yours. They quote you Romans 8:28 that says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose," and smile like that settles it. But nobody looks you in the eye and says, "It is okay to be furious." I have been furious, not a little frustrated, not quietly disappointed, furious. The kind of angry where you stop praying because what is the point? The kind of angry where you sit in church and sing the words and feel nothing but hollow. The kind of angry where you look at your life and what you asked for and what you got and you think, where were you? I know that place. I have lived in that place. And for a long time I thought that anger meant I had failed at faith. I was wrong. Because here is what I found when I finally opened my Bible instead of closing it. The people God used most were not the ones who had it together. They were the ones honest enough to fall apart in front of Him. There was a prophet named Habakkuk, not one of the famous ones, not the ones you learned about in Sunday school, just a man standing in the middle of a broken world watching violence and injustice go unanswered, and he looked up at heaven and said exactly what was on his heart. In Habakkuk chapter 1, verse 2, it reads, "How long, Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Or cry out to you, violence, but you do not save?" That is not a polished prayer. That is not the kind of thing you say out loud in a church service. That is a man at the end of his rope telling God, "I have been asking and nothing is changing. I am watching things fall apart and you are not moving." Sound familiar? Because if you have ever prayed for something so hard for so long and watched nothing happen, that is exactly where Habakkuk was. And God did not strike him down for saying it. God answered him. And then there was Jeremiah, a man who walked through so much loss and grief and confusion that he wrote some of the most raw words in all of Scripture. In Lamentations chapter 3, verses 1 through 3, it reads, "I am the one who has seen affliction by the rod of the Lord's wrath. He has driven me away and made me walk in darkness rather than light. Indeed, he has turned his hand against me again and again all day long." That is a man describing a season that just kept getting worse. One thing after another. No relief, no explanation. Just darkness and the feeling that God Himself was the one allowing it. If you have ever had a year, or a season, that felt like it was designed to break you, if you have ever looked up and thought, "I cannot take one more thing," and then one more thing came anyway, Jeremiah felt that. He wrote it down, and God kept every word of it. And David, the man after God's own heart, the warrior, the king, the one God chose out of everyone. In Psalm chapter 13, verses 1 and 2, it reads, "How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart?" That is not a whisper. That is a scream. And we call those words the Psalms. We read them in church. We print them on coffee mugs. We frame them on our walls. God did not hide those words. He kept them. He put them in His book and let them live for thousands of years so that you, sitting right where you are tonight, could read them and know you are not the first one to feel this way, and you will not be the last. Your anger at God is not the opposite of faith. It is faith. It is faith honest enough to bring the real thing instead of the cleaned up version. It is faith that believes God is big enough to handle what you actually feel. Because here is the truth about anger. At least anger is still a conversation. At least anger means you still believe there is someone on the other end worth being angry at. The people who concern me are not the ones who are furious at God. It is the ones who stop talking to Him altogether. Do not stop talking to Him. Even if all you have right now is the anger itself, bring it. He already knows anyway. In Psalm 34, verse 18, it reads, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Not close to the ones who have it together. Not close to the ones who figured out the right way to pray. Close to the brokenhearted. Close to the crushed. That is where He lives. Right in the middle of the fury and the grief and the questions that don't have answers yet. He is not waiting for you to calm down before He comes near. He is already near. He was near in the silence. He was near in the anger. He was near in every moment you felt most alone, even when you could not feel Him at all. And on the days when you are so broken you cannot even find the words. When the anger has burned itself out and all that is left is exhaustion and emptiness, and you do not even know what to ask for anymore. In Romans chapter 8, verse 26, it reads, "The Spirit helps us in our weakness. We do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us through wordless groans." Wordless groans. God included that in Scripture because He knew there would be moments when you had nothing left. No words, no prayer, no strength to even form a sentence. And in those moments, the Spirit of God is still interceding for you, still speaking on your behalf, still holding what you cannot hold. You do not have to have it together to be heard. You never did. So if you are angry tonight, at God, at life, at the way things turned out, at the prayers that went unanswered, at the silence, you are not alone in that. You are not failing at faith. You are not too far gone. You are exactly where some of the greatest people in Scripture have been. And God met every single one of them right there. He will meet you there too. If you have ever been angry at God and felt guilty about it, drop the word angry in the comments. You do not have to explain it. We will be praying over every single one. And if this is the kind of honest content you need in your life, hit that subscribe button. Come on this journey with us. We will be here. We see you. We are here for you.